So I thought I'd record an actual dedicated video in response to your comment. This is the one in regards to dual builds and Linux. And the reason for this is it's a very interesting comment, and it's something that has a lot of facets to it. One of the more important parts is that I never mentioned the main reason why I'm doing this. The main reason why I'm doing this is to, one, learn TrueNAS and Proxmox so I can migrate to them. And this is specifically ZFS and its full implementation with ZIL, L2ARC, and special metadata device. So that's the main reason. The second thing I'd like to mention is that I already have a server. Now, this server is not local to me, and the reason being is that I'm moving around not often, but more than normal. So every 6 months, I may be in a different location, and when it comes to moving and packing, it's already difficult enough. I don't want to add a server with, its whole set of items around it that I also need to carry with me. Having a case and knowing that where I am with my PC, I'm running with my local server, let's say, is enough. Another thing I would like to mention is the expansion cards. So the GPU that's currently vertically mounted, it is slightly out from the other PCIe expansion cards. So I'm just going to run through some of the cards that you're going to see me putting in there. The reason being that thankfully server hardware is very well standardized, unlike the consumer parts that we're seeing with GPUs that are clearly pushing bounds that they're really not supposed to. So I'm going to take a look online, not on YouTube. I'm going to take a look for an LSI HBA. I'm going to look for a 16i. So this is more than I would need. I only have room for 8 hard drives and 3 SSDs, adding up to 11 drives. So I'm going to take a look for an LSI 16i drive. Now you can see this is among the widest of them, and it only takes up the width of a full PCIe bracket. So this will fit with the GPU I have inside. However, they do offer half-height cards, given that this is for servers, which is great. Now, for GPUs, which is going to be the other slot, X16 slot that I'll be filling, I'm probably going to use something that's very common among the home lab space, which is the Quadro P2200. The reason being that it's relatively affordable, it's available, and it works very well. It's got very good transcode performance, and the number of simultaneous transcodes, as well as having display out, given that it's a Quadro rather than a Tesla. So if you take a look at the PCB once again, it's roughly one full-size PCIe slot in terms of depth. Now that should be able to fit given the situation that I've got in my case. And of course, a 10 gig NIC, no problem. Even a dual 10 gig NIC should be absolutely fine. So that's those checked off. Now, myself, I was a Linux gamer for a while, and you will find much better and much more informative videos elsewhere on the internet. Take a look at Level 1 Techs. Take a look at the Level 1 Techs forums. Also, there are a lot of people enthusiastic about that in the space. Myself, from what I know from before and a little bit based on what I have now, if it was me personally, I would, if I had just one system and I wanted to use Linux like you described in your comment, I would use WSL. I know. Ideally, you would have Linux as the host machine, Windows as a virtual machine, and use hardware pass-through to slide your GPU, one of your GPUs, into the virtual machine so you can game at full performance. That would be great, but anti-cheat is a problem. So using WSL for your basic compute tasks, you don't really want to be gaming inside Linux, so WSL lends itself there too. So that should be fine for you. However, if you need more, if you need a desktop environment, go ahead and create a virtual machine using KDE or GNOME, whichever you prefer, and run it that way. That would be my recommendation, just what I would do. And I think that's just about covers it. As far as builds, I had a quick look around for what you could build. I'm not sure exactly what your criteria is in terms of space and size. Me personally, I am totally fine with the P600S as a case, especially if you're going to have two systems there. What I would change is that if I was to build it again today, you mentioned the 5700G versus the 7700. Now, I would absolutely choose the 7700 if price wasn't an issue. The price has come down because the 3D chips have come out, and also they're a little further on from release. So I would choose the 7700 or maybe a less performant version of one of the AM5 chips. You can get this with a relatively decent motherboard. Doesn't have to be anything too expensive, and it should be fine. Now, the reason I say this is because the 5700G is the most performant CPU with a GPU integrated into it, and that is very limiting. Its performance is that of a 3700X because it is actually based on the Ryzen 3000 architecture rather than Ryzen 5000. The name is a little bit misleading. You might have already known that. It's very unfortunate because ideally I would have liked myself to have a 5900X with a small GPU, just so I can boot. If anything goes wrong with the actual dedicated GPU, I have a fallback. All these AM4 motherboards do have display outputs on them, or at least most of them do. So those are my thoughts on it. If I was building again, I would still use the Fantex P600S. You do have other smaller options, like here, the Fantex Evolve X, that does have the option for dual building. Quite a few of the other Fantex cases do have the option. If it was me, I would use a P600S still. It's a great case. You can get it windowed, non-windowed. Now, the expensive part is the power supply and bracket. The case itself only costs, what is this, 150 pounds? That's roughly $170. However, to get the required power supply, which is a single ATX power supply that can handle two computers, you'll need to fork out about the same price again, anywhere from $178 to maybe $250, because it only comes in 1000 watt and 1200 watt configurations, which is, it makes sense given the nature of what it's supposed to do. And then you've got to pay for the bracket and PCI Express extension cable. Now, the thing with the bracket is that it costs somewhere to the realm of $150 if you get it bundled with the extension cable, but that should serve you well. I hope that's answered most of your questions. Thank you for commenting, and take care.